Hi, I'm Francesco Garripoli and the author of The Chi Effect, which is my new third book. And this is the second edition, which is really important. If you have the first edition, this is a major upgrade, so to speak. We'll call this Chi Effect version 2.0. And it's got a whole 6 months worth of me spending time updating this version. And we're going to go back now into our Wuji Mountain Musings, which is the reflections on the content in this book in the last chapter, which is called Wuji Mountain Musings. And I like to go through, out of the 108 that are in this book, and there are hundreds more that will go in the next book, but for this book, we put 108 in there. And I'm going to read a random one. I kind of picked it randomly before, and I liked it, and I think it's going to be a good point to discuss. Number 81, Wuji Mountain Musings. Daily life is a dreaming. We are invited to stay awake in. While our sleeping dreams at night are clear and open windows to our subconscious. Listen to them and their metaphoric symbology. Our brilliant subconscious taps into our survival and intuitive minds. Embracing this with an open heart provides us with insight for our waking dreaming. And it will always speak to our personal transformation and growth. So our personal transformation and growth is really what we're here for, right? People want to know, what is the purpose in life? And, well, could it be any more than our ability to be awake in this consciousness, to remember who we are? We're not just this physical form. Of course not. I mean, everybody knows that intuitively. Our intuitive mind can sense that heart resonant intuition says, I am more than this physical body. I can't just think that I'm the person who goes to work 5-6 days a week and pays rent and does all the things for my family and the world around me just to survive another week. I don't think so. We know that there is an identity beyond that gender, beyond that age, beyond that culture, beyond that ethnicity. And that's what happens when we wake up in this dream. We wake up in the dreaming where we realize when we're asleep. So I twisted it a little bit. People say wake up from the dream. I say wake into the dream. Because when we're asleep, when we're consciously trapped in our conditioning of the intellectual and survival minds, then that conditioning is what drives into our subconscious. Our subconscious, like we mentioned in that number 81, is what triggers our sleeping dreams, the lowercase d in dreaming, which is what we're used to when we sleep and random ideas come up, random thoughts or visions. Sometimes they're scary, sometimes they're happy, they're pleasurable, sometimes they're really confusing, but it's all a reflection of our subconscious. The challenge is to understand what is that subconscious drive and how it's been conditioned both from your life, from childhood, from your parents, your school, your church, your friends, your life experiences, but also how it's been programmed epigenetically, how your subconscious has been epigenetically conditioned and programmed over millennia. We're not even aware of that. And it goes beyond even our cultural milieu, beyond what we have been influenced from our ancestors directly in our bloodline. We've been influenced for thousands and thousands and maybe more eons as a living creature, and all that genetic information, all that epigenetic information, all that cellular memory contributes to our subconscious until we can get in touch with that subconscious. And this is the big thing. This is why we practice meditation and qigong, even yoga, tai chi, things that slow us down and quiet us down so we can begin to listen to that inner voice. That inner voice is our subconscious many times. Okay? We like to think our inner voice is our guidance from our intuitive mind, but a lot of times that inner voice is a very conflictual and influential voice of our subconscious. That comes from our conditioning. We have to learn with the three minds, the survival and intellectual mind, or the conditioned minds. The intuitive mind is the heart mind, and that's not conditioned, not conditionable. So when we can learn to differentiate between those inner voices that are our conditioning, our subconscious screaming out, sometimes it screams out in pain, in symptoms, in body language, that's the only language it knows sometimes, the aches and pains. We have to listen to that enough to slow down. Then we have to differentiate those conditioned voices from the intuitive mind inner voice. This is our guidance. Sometimes we'll call this our angels or our guides. In fact, it's our connection as conscious awakened beings to our intuitive mind. That intuitive heart mind is a very present mind, and it's connected to the Akasha. It's connected to this infinite consciousness. So we say in Qigong, we have this Wei Qi field, this energy field around us. Well, that Wei Qi field is in part the definition of our personal mind, our personal field of reference generated from our organs and generated from our epigenetic field, our conscious experience. That field goes so far until it starts to merge into the intuitive space beyond our physical, beyond our identity. Yes, our identity exists into the infinite. We are infinite consciousness, knowing itself through our human experience. But we've got to recognize where our personal field is and to stay awake in that field, to be awake to what is driving us from conditioning and what's guiding us from the heart. Once we can differentiate between the two of these, well, life becomes more adventurous and more pleasurable. We're no longer driven by the subconscious drives that we're not even aware of. Why we burst out in anger, why we feel scared, why we lose our confidence. We go into this in the soul threads, understanding that these are deep, deep drivers inside us. But for now, let's just simply talk that conditioning, subconsciously mostly, is driving the majority of our decisions and our actions until we can become free of that. Not by shutting it down, not by quieting the mind. It's just the opposite. Let's wake up the mind, but understand what the mind is. Intuitive is much different than intellectual and survival. Those intellectual and survival minds are the conditioned minds and the drivers to our subconscious. Once we can understand them, once we can recognize, I see that thought, that feeling, that reaction, that Pavlovian response, that conditioned response is coming from those minds. Now I know how to look for my intuitive mind, how to come back into heart resonance and to listen to that. And we start to find out that when we can stay awake in that life dreaming, I call the dreaming with a capital D, what we do every day. But most people walk through it asleep. We're being asked to wake up into this beautiful dreaming, because in the dreaming is the reality, the absolute reality. In the sleep, that sleeping conditioned state is the illusion. So wake up into your dreaming. Trust your power. Trust to do a practice, a daily practice where you start to listen to your intuitive mind. What is it saying? Learn to differentiate that voice from your subconscious conditioned voice, and everything changes. This is the joy of the journey. This is what we're here to experience, to move beyond the 5 senses that are conditioned to the 6th and ultimate senses of our intuition that can't be conditioned and can only be connected to that infinite consciousness that we are. That's our birthright. And that's what we're here to experience. And so I wish that for you, to listen, to do your Qigong practice, your meditation, your yoga. We've got lots of cool ways to do this in our life if you're willing to take that step and set your intention to stay awake in this dreaming and really understand who you are, not only for body health, but mind and spirit health as well. Peace.